Welcome to the Wild Reawakening podcast. Hosts Amy and Kendall Evans take you on a journey to learn empowerment by accessing your intuition and reawakening your wild self. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment purposes only and does not constitute any medical or legal advice. Make sure to like and follow the Wild Reawakening podcast and stay connected with us at Wild Reawakening on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Visit wildreawakening.com. Join us in building a community of healing and connection. Get started today on your own path to a wild reawakening. Hey everyone, welcome to the moon forecast for the full moon in Leo we have coming up here on February 5th. I'm Kendall with Bohemian Tarot Girl as well as Wild Reawakening. And Amy, give a shout out to yourself.
Hi, I'm Amy with Wise Moon Energy, Wild Reawakening. I'm an intuitive energy coach and moon circle leader. So
awesome. Okay, so this moon that is coming up, very interesting. We're going to talk about the cycle that is currently happening with the full moon, and then we're going to walk into some higher level cycles that are coming to a close and starting up. So just be aware that the first part, we're going to talk about what's currently happening within this shorter lunar cycle for the full moon, and then we'll talk about some larger aspects. So make sure to stick around in the video to see it all. We have Mercury finishing up its shadow period right now. It's sextiling Neptune when this happens, and there's this conjunction with Pluto. And with this energy wrapping up, we're really learning to rebel against the norm, right? You're tuning in spiritually a little bit higher, and you're really connecting with yourself. So there's some interesting energy that is outside of the direct lunar cycle that's coming into play. And that's one of the pieces that really stood out to me. How about you, Amy?
oh gosh, there's so much happening with this moon. This is the Leo full moon. It's happening February 5th of 2023, and that occurs at 10:28 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's also happening at 16 degrees. So what that means is that if you want to look at where this moon is landing in your chart, you can look at Leo, 16 degrees of Leo, see what house that is in. That'll tell you what area of your life it might be affecting, and just give you like a more personalized look at that. So I love, I really, really love the Leo energy when it comes in, especially in the full moons. It is such like a vibrant, heart-centered, uplifting, just a really, really positive energy. And this moon in particular, like we've kind of been following, if you've been following our videos, there has been kind of a story that's being created as we move through these moons. And we had the last new moon in Aquarius 2 weeks ago, and that was kind of the start of the Lunar New Year and opening up all of these new pathways to follow and bringing in some much needed vibrant energy. And now we have the full moon in Leo, and full moons happen when the moon and the sun are in direct opposition of each other. And so even though it is they usually, when you have an opposition between two signs, they have some very similar characteristics, but they operate in very different ways. Mm-hmm. And so Aquarius, we're looking at focused on kind of the collective and inspiration and bringing in something new. And it's very aligned with inspiration and creativity. And then you have Leo, which is also very creative in its own, but it's very much more a personal energy, and it's very heart-centered, and it's very much in living in truth. And so what we're seeing is these two kind of opposing energies come together, and we're focusing on this Leo moon, the Leo aspect of this, and looking at how we are showing up for ourselves, maybe where we have not been showing up for ourselves, or where we've been abandoning what our own needs are. And so this is kind of, we talked at the beginning of the year about the energy of this year feeling like um, it's time to kind of come home to ourselves. And I feel like this moon is really wanting us to usher that in.
I really love that. With that, I love the combination of that Leo energy too with the Aquarius energy. Leo is so authentic. And, when you combine it with that Aquarius energy of the higher self and it's coming in, and that's highlighted by this extra bonus of being your own true self and coming into that passion, that's really powerful. And that's really where we see our collective being asked to go. We're being asked to um, find what we really want, find the truth within ourselves, and not rely on others to really control the outcome and provide the answers for us. Oftentimes we get, drawn into wanting somebody else to solve our problems. And to me, this moon really calls us to step into our own self and use that power.
Yeah. And it's really something very powerful, speaking of that, when you own your own stories and you align with what it is that you really want, and you make yourself a priority, which is not something that we're ever really taught to do. I know for myself, even growing up, I was in a family of 5 children, and I was the oldest. And so anything that I wanted for myself, or anything that I felt I needed, and expressing those needs, it was considered being selfish or not thinking of anybody else. And I think that we really need to start looking at the difference between being selfish and running over everybody else, or not having any consideration for anybody, and the difference between that and really honoring what it is that you truly want, really recognizing your own needs, and turning that into more of your own self-love instead of self-abandonment, which is something that I see happen, especially with, well, it happens everywhere, but we tend to work with women in circles. So that especially is something that I think has been ingrained in women for a very long time, is that everyone else's needs are much more important than what you need. And you should be self-sacrificing for the benefit of everyone else. And if we look at this energy, especially with this Leo moon and being an Aquarius, what really happens is when you start honoring those parts of yourself, and you start showing up for yourself, and you live in a very authentic way, you're actually able to give more of yourself and provide a better sense of sense of what your offerings are to the world,
Yes.
and to those that are important to you in your immediate life.
Yeah. I mean, well, this is interesting that we're having this conversation because I just finished up. I know I told you about it, doing that free course, and it's very much about finding your own internal guiding system. And what I work, you know, helping to teach people how to find the ability to tell when they are living in their truth and when they are not living in their truth. And just that ability to be able to recognize for yourself what is right or wrong is huge.
Mhm.
And just being able to sit and be like, okay, I'm making this choice to be, you know, to live in my truth, or maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm doing it because it benefits my spouse, my children, whatever it is. But you're actually consciously aware of um, your decision that you're making. And I think that's really important, that you need to be able to look at those pieces and make those calls.
Yeah, and one of the hardest things, because I work with people all the time, one of the hardest things, and even for myself, I'm still working on this, it's a process, giving yourself permission to put your needs first.
100%.
And and not feel guilty about
Yeah.
that. It's, you, you know, you're going to be so much more available and so much more at peace and so much more fulfilled, which is going to translate to everything and everyone around you if you first recognize what it is that you need in order to feel at home.
Yes.
So I think that this moon in particular is especially highlighting these things. And of course, with full moons, so moon energy, I mean, the moon travels really quickly through the signs. It's going to go through all 12 signs within like a 28 to 30-day cycle. And it's about 2.5 to 3 days in each sign. So the full moon in Leo is not going to last a long time. It's not a super potent energy, so to speak. But what it does is it starts a cycle that is going to continue. And so typically that can be either until the new moon, which is in 2 weeks, or excuse me, or it'll be until the next new moon in Leo, which will be in about 6 months. Sometimes it can take a full year for a cycle to complete. This moon has some interesting aspects to it because we are at the direct midpoint between the last full moon lunar eclipse that we had in November, which was in Taurus, and the next full moon lunar eclipse that'll happen in May, which will be in Scorpio. And if you've been following us for very long, we've had this Taurus Scorpio lunar cycle that has been happening since November of 2022. And it'll happen until November of this year. So when we have those eclipses happen, it's like opening this whole portal to create change in an area of your life that is going to shift rather dramatically and rather quickly in maybe ways that you would never expect over the course of the full eclipse season in those signs. The other interesting thing that we've had with those eclipses going on is that they are, Uranus, which is the planet of transformation and revolution, has been in Taurus. So these eclipses have been conjunct, which is creating an even greater sense of transformation and change and rebellion. And we've seen that happening, you know, people leaving their jobs, changing their careers, moving their, you know, residences, changing their relationships. There's so much that happens, but what it does is it's creating this kind of this portal that is like pushing us into what is next. So
I love that.
we are at that midpoint.
Yes.
And so things might start having, or you might start having like really distinct revelations. That is also supported by that Mercury conjunct Pluto right now. Having deep inner truths being revealed to you, maybe things that you've been avoiding, or areas of your life where you've been really passive and you're realizing that that passivity has not served you and that it's time to start taking action. It can be really uncomfortable, especially if you're used to keeping things status quo and now you're being forced to like either make changes or become more clear as to what is I actually had a conversation not too long ago, and it was like I felt recently like in some aspects of my life that rose-colored glasses have like just been stripped away, and I'm seeing things that I had not wanted to see or that I had not wanted to accept, and now it's like I can't ignore it anymore, and I'm going to have to and I'm sure this is not just me, I'm sure it's happening to other people, but once you can't ignore things anymore, you're forced in a position to make the changes.
Mhm.
And I think that's what this moon is kind of saying. It's wanting you to look at the areas in your life that feel out of alignment for who you are right now and where you want to go, and look at where you have not been living authentically, and start making the changes so that you are more in alignment with your true self and your direction and this person that you have evolved into. Because all of the energy, especially of the last 2 years with Saturn being where it was in Aquarius, has been very much about transformation and changing, and kind of stepping out. I mean,
Yeah.
we talk about Saturn quite a bit. It's been a very heavy and prominent energy since like 2020. And it kind of comes in to show you all the restrictions and all of the things that aren't working. And it's getting ready to change signs. And Saturn's an outer planet, so it's a very slow moving planet. It's leaving Aquarius at the beginning of March, March 7th and 8th, and it's been there for a while, and couple of years, and it's getting ready to enter Pisces. And so it won't be back in Aquarius for another 28 years. So that's the cycle. And so kind of take a look at the last couple of years and look at what is being closed out, or what is coming to an end in your life, and where you are shifting with that.
I like that. When I look at this moon, obviously there's that heavy, um, there's that calling for change that you were speaking about. But, with that too, it's also, there's not a warning, but there is some, pieces where you do need to watch out for your relationships and how you interact within them. So just be aware of that there is some energy where, as you, find your truth, and maybe you have some extreme revelation about what your truth is and who you want to become, don't let that necessarily cause a rift with the people that you have in your life. It's okay to, live in your truth and make your stance without destroying your relationships, and just opening up the communication lines. Um, I did want to say we do have the moon with Chiron, and it's trining Chiron. And that is very, this like wounded feminine energy. And I know we were talking about this briefly before, healing. That to me, that really keys me in on where we should be looking. We should be looking at our feminine energy. If you connect with feminine energy, look at healing some of those wounds that come within that. Like if it's your connection with your mother. Amy, you mentioned how you were living as a child growing up, and the fact that you had to be in charge of being the oldest child, right? Those are some wounds that we need to heal and we need to look at. So journaling about those pieces, I'd really dig in deeper to that, that feminine energy and healing that. There's something about that. I don't know if we're really being called as, people who, connect with the feminine energy, to take a stance and to live in their truth more. And that's very specific to the feminine energy.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I've noticed, especially with what's been going on, I mean, yeah, there needs to be a healing of the feminine energy, but there also has a very strong need for healing of the masculine energy. And ideally, we would have a balance of both. I mean,
Yes.
we have those energies within us. We've had a lot of masculine energy over the last, I mean, Pluto
Yes.
and
It's
Capricorn,
been
that's a
heavy.
very long lasting energy, and Pluto is kind of a generational thing. um, we've had a lot of masculine influence in the world, and a lot. I mean, we all, you hear people talk about the patriarchy and all
Mhm.
of that, but masculine energy is not bad. It's just that there's been an imbalance.
Yes.
And so I believe and I really feel like, especially the generations that are coming up, they're trying to kind of heal this imbalance and create something that's more equitable for all people. And I think it's really needed. I think that um, it's what is the word I'm looking for?
Totally
I feel
with
like
you.
words are not coming out today.
It's okay. You needed more coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I couldn't agree more. Like the masculine energy, I feel like we have in society has really been responding to the fact that um, it's either been a push or a pull, like a give or a take. I feel like some people are holding ground on certain sides, and really it's calling us to look at why we're making maybe some stances and why we're picking certain sides. And ultimately, I mean, I talk about this a lot with you, Amy, is we should really be living in the middle, right? We should be valuing each side of our energy and coming together and working together and not really saying one side is better than the other, putting value on those. In society, we tend to value certain things. And so we say, there are characteristics that have been given to masculine energy that we valued. And so now we're taking the standpoint like we need to look at that feminine energy and making sure that we find value within our lives
Mhm.
for that as well.
And I think ultimately what it comes down to when you start working on healing those wounded parts of yourself, you just naturally become more in balance and in tune with your environment, with your relationships, more in tune with the energies of the universe, with spirit. Like, and so ultimately, going back to this Leo moon, which is very, I don't want to say egocentric, but it is a very personal energy. It's very self reflective and it's very more of a, oh
It's
my gosh.
No, I'm following you. It's to me, it is very like about yourself, but it is done in a way that it's this burst of bright energy. It's this warmth, this light. It's like a good thing. You feel compelled to do it. You feel happy about it. Um, there's success in what you do with the Leo energy that it really exemplifies. So with this, there's this great beacon, is how I feel like it. Like, do the work, do the healing, look at the feminine energy and how it plays out through your life, and make that healing chance, or, make that happen in your life. And then you're going to walk into this beautiful energy that the Leo moon is giving you right now. And so that's really what this moon and this moon cycle speaks to me is empowering yourself and really understanding the value in yourself.
What is your most self confident, authentic, um, best version of yourself look like? And how can you best align with that so that you can offer it to those that are in your general vicinity, or even out to the world? Like, what does that look like? And what is keeping you from being that? And I think that is really what this moon is.
All about.
When you get down to the nitty gritty, um, and how can you offer yourself the same self love and compassion that you so generously give to everybody else
True.
without feeling guilty about it?
Mm-hmm. I like it. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us for this moon forecast. We hope that you have a great full moon. I get to be in Sedona, so I'm excited about that. Um, But we will see you all again. Make sure that you're liking and subscribing to our channel. We really appreciate the support. Also, find us on Facebook and join our group. We're going to be doing a moon circle group activity starting with the next new moon, and we hope that you join us there. So you'll see more information coming soon. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.